Last week I had so many things to do that I had 0 hours shop time. And that also means, of course, that I had 0 minutes of video footage. And that is, of course, the reason why last week I didn't post a video, because I had no. I suppose that makes sense. And that's, of course, also the reason why the projects start piling up here. Like this one. This is a shifter, 4-speed and advance and reverse of an old tram. And I need to restore it, which means boring this hole here and then install a new pin and then make these pins here the right length, and we'll see. Another thing I have to fix is this coupler here, this tension system here. Of course, normally there is a bar in it with on one side a big ball and the other side a smaller ball. But as you can see, the smaller ball doesn't exist anymore. And of course, this is a little Tommy bar to put tension on the thing. And the third project is to make at least 2 of these spacer bar. Now, luckily I have nuts for it, so that's good, I don't have to make. And these are a little bit special. Now, long-time viewers maybe remember that I already made this kind of spacer bars. But this one, the diameter on this part is smaller than the inner diameter of the nut, so that if you put the nut over the whole length, it can slide over the bar. The ones I made before are different, but I will explain why when I make these. I don't have the material yet, but I asked Santa, so I'm sure it will come. And because restoring this shifter system and making the bars is more or less urgent, I will start with the coupler. I will bring it closer. To connect 2 rail cars at each other, we always use 2 of these, which means one of these is on one rail car and the other one is on the other rail car, of course. And one side is fixed with a bolt, of course it can move, but I mean you cannot take it off. And the other side is in a hook, and then of course the other one comes next to here. And when there is tension on it, because of this is a weight, it cannot spin from itself. That's more or less the idea. And all I have to do is to put it in here, spin thing, put it back in here, and then make a cap and weld it on. Now I have no idea how these things were made, because these 2 screws here and this block is one piece. It is forged. And the pin itself, the originals, they are one piece too. What I think is fascinating, because of course this U idea and these 2 holes eyes here is also one piece. And this block, there are 2 pins on it. There's not really pins. The block and the pins are one piece, which means to put it all together when it's built, when it's new, they have this piece with the pins, one piece, and then they have to bend this eye at the same time and then close it around these pins and then put the split pins in here. No idea how they do it, but that's how they did it. Or how to make this part with the both screws and this block here also in one piece. And then the mushroom idea is of course also forged, which means they have to put it together and then make a kind of rivet head or forge it, but with this thing in the way. No idea how they did it, but they did it. But having a closer look at this part, this is not original. This is just a piece of bar, and if I turn it a little bit in the light, you can see that this side here is welded, so not original. And what I'm gonna do is exactly the same. I'll be back. I have here a little piece of rust, and I will make a little mushroom like this one but smaller and weld it on. That's all. Now of course weld it on when it's assembled. Over to the Celtic. First I will clean up a little bit this part, because here I can see that the little cap they put on was brazed, so I have to take this off and take the paint off. And because there's a lot of stick out, I will cut it with high-speed steel. I think that will do. I also made, of course, a tiny little chamfer for welding, and all that's left to do now is to make a mushroom idea a bit like this one but smaller, and then of course drill and bore a hole and make it fit in here and weld it together. It's a hammer fit, but that's also a fit. I have to change cutting tools here, because this side of the cutting tool doesn't cut very well. Because the part I have to cut off is too short to fit here in my electric slicer, I think I'm gonna give it a try again on the USSR lathe. Everything should be ready to go. Part installed, of course the cutting tool in the rear post, because on this lathe there is one that I made, and I locked the carriage and wish me luck. Success! This time I think it went very well to cut this thing off. Now of course here I didn't have to cut to the center. The problems almost always start to come when the cutting tool is near the center of the part. But here worked very well. Let's assemble. It is a bit too tight and too complicated to assemble, which means this is a hammer and anvil fit. Now all it needs is a little bit of weld, but before I do that, first I want to show you something. For many years now I have this yellow little stick welder here, and it works really well and I really like to use it. My problem is of course that this thing is an old style welder, which means it is very heavy, and I wanted to make some kind of welding card for it, but here in my garage there's no room to put whatever thing more than I already have. And then I came up with an easy solution that I really didn't think of. Sometimes solutions to an everyday problem are so close, so obvious that we don't see it. Several years of thinking how I'm gonna fix my mobility problem on my little welder. And it was looking at me during all these years. So as you can see, sometimes stop thinking and there's a solution. And this is how it looks like after a bit of belt sander touch and a little bit of paint. And I think it doesn't look too bad. Now of course it's important to note that this thing normally is somewhere below where nobody sees it. Of course it doesn't mean that it's okay to do not good work because you don't see it. but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. Of course, it would be nice if I could show you the installment of the thing. Now it's very easy. Take bolt out, take the old one out, put this one in, bolt back in, that's all. But the installment will happen next week, which means when this video is already out. So it's not possible. As for the gear shifter here, I think it needs a video on itself because there's a lot of different setups and operations to do. So it's not a quick job. I will make a separate video for this one. And for these two spacer bars I have to make, I'm still waiting for the material. So I suppose see you next week.